Welcome to Born Again to Live. I'm Eric Miller.
And I'm Amy.
And we invite you to walk along
with us
as we learn what it truly means
to be born again.
Happy New Year! Oh, wait. That was like a month ago. We're still in the New Year.
It's February, Eric.
Yeah, a groundhog, right? Everybody wants to shoot that thing now.
Yeah, no kidding.
I did see where PETA was offering the city of, what's the thing?
Puxatawny, yeah.
A vegan something or other option if they stopped letting the groundhog have to come out of his hole.
Huh, okay.
Trying to stop the groundhog shadow thing. I don't know why it's hurting him, but
yeah, he doesn't look like he's in a lot of pain. I think he's the best cared for groundhog in the world.
He's a pretty fat little guy.
He's doing all right. All right, let's give a shout out.
Yes. DJ Taylor.
Yes.
My buddy since high school, pre-Christ is what we like to say. We were friends, and now we're brothers.
BC. Before Christ, yep. Right? Yeah.
He always compares it to David and Jonathan.
Okay.
Like we're both, that's how our relationship is. He likes to say that that's how we are. So
I love it.
We uplift each other.
Yeah. Well, we just watched one of his Facebook posts, yes. And I just love how he calls y'all barnyard brethren. And he's out there farming, and he's like chopping up the ice in his water trough with an old axe. It's awesome. Like, just love seeing that just raw and real version of you, DJ. So yep. We love you.
He preaches at Walnut Grove Church of the Brethren, so that's where the barnyard brethren. And I heard in one of his episodes the other day, he said, RFD TV, this is a segment you need to pick up right here.
RFD TV.
So, yeah, again, DJ, we love you. I just want you to know how much we appreciate you.
Yeah, and he often used to talk about Big Blue in his radio segments, too. So he's been a supporter of Big Blue for a very long time.
Yep, and he is actually the first time I ever got on a radio. He invited me over, and we hung out and played Christian music and talked on the radio for a night.
Wow, so he's the patriarch of Eric's broadcasting career.
And funny story, we talk about God having plans. DJ had asked me to come be on his radio show, and I said, man, I hate my voice. And I told him basically no, and then finally he kept asking, and I was like, I just don't know, and I prayed about it, and I remember distinctly God saying, I gave you your voice.
Yeah. Yeah, at what point are you going to stop saying that, Eric? Like, he gave you that voice.
He did, and that's when I went, okay, DJ, I'll be on your show, and I went on his show, and then not long after, the show was over, 2-hour show. Some lady called in and said, I loved your co-host tonight, DJ. I was like,
well, and I was just telling Eric, like, again, I'm listening to the podcast in the morning, and I often forget it's he and I. Like, they are two different people coming through my headphones. But I told Eric, I was like, you sound like a country music singer. You have that West Virginia twang, that deep voice. I was like, I don't know why you hate your voice. You sound great. So
I visited Alaska one time back way long ago, and me and my buddy, of course, I don't think I have an accent, but evidently I do.
You do.
At my back turn, we were looking at the Cook Inlet, looking over it, and we were at the edge, and there was a lady behind us. And without even looking at us, she goes, so what part of West Virginia are you from?
Wow.
I was like, oh, I guess I do have an accent.
But, it's different than North Carolina. It's different than, Georgia. It's got its own thing. But, yeah, you are like born and raised West Virginia, Eric. You're the real deal.
Born and raised in the same half mile.
Mm-hmm. See, I was raised in the South by Northern parents, so I had the weird accent. But my Northern cousins still say I have an accent, and I will say it comes out more depending on who I'm talking to. All right, so our tangents are our only talent on this program, but we decided we wanted to talk a little bit more about God's plans for us. So that's where we're going to go today.
Yeah. We didn't have enough of the last one, so we thought, let's do it again. But where it started was we were talking, and the reason I said Happy New Year, everybody makes New Year's resolutions. Well, I had a friend, I don't know what you call it, that put me on to making bucket lists instead of resolutions. And so you make a yearly bucket list of things you'd like to do.
Yeah.
And we're going to give another shout out, but I know that we have Shanda who who made a 40 in her 40s, and then she's going to do a 50 thing she wants to do in her 50s list. So it's kind of the same thing. So,
sure.
But I make a bucket list. And where this conversation started was God's plan for us in my bucket list.
Yeah.
So last year I had the bucket list. And the number one thing I had on my bucket list for last year was before I turned 40, I wanted to go visit Niagara Falls, which I had been trying for 20 years to go see.
Okay, let me stop 1 second. Bucket list. The reason it's called a bucket list, because, right?
Yeah.
If people
things you want to do before you kick the bucket.
Yes, yeah, that's why we call it the bucket list. And there's a great movie about that. Have you seen it? It's a good movie. So, okay, all right. Just want to make sure that all the listeners are on the same page. Okay, so you have this dream to go to Niagara Falls in your 40s.
That was before I hit 40. I wanted to see it. I had planned to drive my motorcycle there once, never got to. Planned to take my kids there, never got to. Planned to go with my ex-wife, never got to. Just every time I had thought I was going to go, I just didn't get to. And so last December, I said, I am going before I turn 40. I don't care how. And I started the process. I went and renewed my passport because it had been 10 years since I used my passport. So I was like, I'm going to renew my passport. And that gets us to about March. And my passport had just been sent off. And I was like, all right, I'm settling down and I'm booking this trip. So I got to where I had the dates picked out. I was going over, I believe it was like the 4th of July area around that time. And I was like, all right, so I got everything done. And everybody said, stay in Canada because it's a prettier side of the falls. I was like, all right, so I'll stay in the Canada side. So I book an Airbnb. And as I'm booking it, it says, what's your passport number?
Ooh.
And I didn't have it because it was sent off.
Yeah.
And the group we work with, Big Blue, was getting ready to have their annual retreat. We do 2 retreats a year. We do every 6 months, just about.
Yeah.
Where we get together and plan the next 6 months.
Yep.
And so I couldn't book my Airbnb, so I was like, I'll just do it later, because I planned to drive up, and it was all right. I'll do it later. Well, we get together at the core team retreat, and it's my idea from the year ago to do a missions trip. And I was like, I'm adamant that this year we need to do it. And my goal was to take juniors and seniors in high school on a missions trip before they graduate from Big Blue every other year.
Yeah.
So it was my plan, but I didn't really think it was going to happen because the year before it didn't happen. And we all voted that, yes, we were going to do it this year. And so we pulled up this organization, YouthWorks, which is where I decided that we were going to use because they were a really good-looking group of people to do this thing through. And they're like, well, read off the list of places to go. And so I go through these places, and I had narrowed it down in my head to 2 locations. One was South Dakota.
Okay.
And the other was Niagara Falls. And the only reason I put those on there was because they seemed the most practical and exotic.
Okay.
Of the destination. One was like Charleston, West Virginia.
Right. Not that
North
far.
Carolina.
Yeah.
It was like these kids, you're taking them for an experience.
Yeah.
So why not see a cool landmark? Like you would go to South Dakota, you would get to see Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. Be somewhere completely different.
And it was an Indian reservation. So I was like, oh, that's my choice.
Okay.
That was my choice. I tried to push for South Dakota. But everybody said it was like a 2-day drive.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that's a long ways. And our first time. And so the group voted for Niagara Falls. And which I thought was really cool. But then I got voted to be the leader of the thing. So the surreal part was for me is when we were on this trip and I'm on my missions trip, it come to my realization that a trip that was going to cost me thousands on my own didn't cost that much for the trip. And the experience was way better than if I'd have went on a vacation up there because I got to help people. I got to see God move. I got to witness somebody into being born again.
Yeah, you sure did.
And I got to go see all the sights that I was going to see on my own. I did the Maid of the Mist. I did the walk right underneath the falls. I can't remember now what it's called. But anyways, you go right under the fall. I got to see all of that, do all of those things. I got to go to the Canada side because Shanda went with us and she's like, Eric, just go. You've never been, just go.
Yeah.
So I spent the evening over on the Canada side just hanging out.
Yeah.
And when I came back, I just thought, God, you did so much better than I could have done.
For sure.
Because you had a plan, and I glorified you through that plan instead of me being selfish and being like, I'm just going on vacation.
Right, which there's nothing wrong with that either. But I do love how God just, we talked about the desires of your heart, and we read from Jeremiah a few episodes ago about how, for I know the plans I have for you, right? So I'm going to read both of those scriptures here in a second. But the first one comes from Ephesians. And to me, like, this is what, and I know I've quoted this one before too, because I always go back to it. My hardest struggles, I'm always like thinking that God does this for me. He does this for everyone. But it is Ephesians 3:20, and it says, now to him who is able, which they're talking about God, to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work with us. To him be the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen. So him who is able to do immeasurably, meaning you can't measure it, right? More than we can ask or imagine. So this is the perfect example of this is how this plays out, guys, in Eric's life. I've always wanted to go to Niagara Falls, so I'm going to book a trip and go. And then God's like, no, I'm going to do way more than you asked for or even wanted in the first place. You didn't even know what you wanted until I showed you what you wanted, and more than you can imagine. And so, like you said, you got to see the sights, which was your kind of only goal in the original dream. And you got to be the dad to the kids that were on that, these 3 amazing teens.
Yeah.
And they all needed a dad on that trip.
Yeah.
And, even the ones that had really strong parental presence, there's something about getting away from those expectations that parents can put on you and just being there in God's presence. And so mighty things happened on that trip. And I just love the way that God took care of that dream for you.
Yeah, it was amazing. And the things that we did and the work we did for the community and all of that, I didn't even envision. I planned on just going up and spending money. Instead, I spent my time and tithed my time, and God paid it back with just it's an amazing view. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I'll never forget the moment I was on the Maid of the Mist, and we were at the back of the boat, and at some point the boat gets really close to the falls, and then it turns to come back. And literally when it turned, it was just a wall of waters all around.
Oh, love it.
It was so amazing. And at that moment, I worshiped God. I was like, God, this is so cool. You created
so
this.
Cool. And doesn't there usually like a rainbow effect if it's sunny? And gosh, that's so beautiful. Okay, so here's the other verse I was going to read to you guys. Psalm 37:4. Take delight in the Lord. So like that's a step 1, right? Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. So, God already knew, Eric, that you had just a desire to do more in this world than just kind of check off bucket list items. And so he's like, oh yeah, you're going to get to the falls, but we're going to do this the best way possible. And I know we talked about this on the last episode too, just about how God makes things, once we made that decision to do the mission trip, the way God just moved, because I think we had the same issues that you did, even just putting the podcast together, time and money. And, as a core team, we're like, we really want to do this for the kids, but do we have the time? Do we have the money? We don't have a lot of time to fundraise. And it just was like the moment this plan was in place, God just moved mountains once again. And it's like, all right, this is happening. We had, a couple donors that were just like, they kind of regularly donate, but one of them spoke to me and was like, yeah, I guess I need to make my donation to Big Blue. How much do you need? And I was like, well, actually, we have this trip. And, if you give a certain amount, that will pay for every one of these kids to be able to go. And so we got the donations lined up. I love that there was extra to do the fun stuff too.
Money to get that. We got money for shirts. Like, it was amazing.
And then wasn't there an issue with the van or the car, right? What happened with the car? I feel like
it was donated.
Okay, like a rental van or something?
Yeah. We got a rental van, and actually it was donated. Well, most of it was donated.
Yeah, that's so. I mean, that is how God moves. Like if you're wondering if God's in on something, when it is just effortless, and almost to the point of ridiculousness, like that's him. That's his. Like, oh yeah, I'm.
Well, the first fundraiser we did, we had a yard sale and barbecue.
Yeah,
Where I launched my business.
that's right.
And we were blessed so much in that day that I think we got like half of the money we did that one day.
We did.
With a yard sale and a barbecue. Like, it was so great.
So great. Yeah, I mean, God was working then too, right? Like, hey, Eric, while we're working on this one bucket list item, oh yeah, there's also that thing about your barbecue career that we're also going to just kind of get started. But yeah, we mentioned Shanda earlier in the program, and there's not a lot of people I will get up at 6 a.m. for, but Miss Shanda has got boundless energy, so she's going to get through all 40 things on her bucket list, plus like another 45 probably. But yeah, we were in charge of the yard sale, so we had to get up early that day, and that was such a great moment, and the kids were involved in it, and yeah, so we've got another one coming up in 2026, right? That's going to be our next
do another one.
mission trip. Yeah.
We're still fundraising if anybody wants to help with that.
Always
saying we're still fundraising for the next one. But the reason we're talking about this today is that verse where it says he'll give you the desires of your heart. Write them down.
Yeah.
Make your bucket list.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a yearly bucket list, 40 in your 40s or any of that. Just write down what you want and pray over it. We've talked about prayer. Like, God, this is what I would like to do. It could be, I want a house. It could be, I want a new car. Pray about your desires, and God will give you the desires of your heart if it's in his will. And we're not going to, some things we can't control.
Yeah.
But if you give it to God, like, he can take it and then he can make it way better.
Yeah.
Than you can imagine.
Way better. I remember as a kid, Eric, like I would come home from school and have these conversations with my mom. And one of the days I told her, I was like, when I grow up, I'm going to be the president of a company. And so, your parents kind of entertain your conversations. And she's like, okay, well, what kind of company? And I said, I don't care, just as long as I'm in charge. And she's like, oh, all right then. And she goes, so you want to be the president? Why? And I said, well, because that way I can be in charge and I won't have to go to work. Right? I somehow thought if I was the owner and in charge, I wasn't going to have to work. And she's like, no, sweetie, you probably do the most amount of work. But I guess even as a kid, sort of my thought pattern was I wanted to be in charge of my own schedule, right? And so God knew that about me, well, from the beginning, but I kind of learned that about myself, is like I always wanted to be the one to say yes and no to things, and direct my steps. And anyway, I work for myself now, which is amazing because there's no way I could do the other things that God has called me to do without having that flexibility. And so that was just, that was like a desire of my heart from the time I was very young and didn't even know why. And now, like with the work I do at the camp and with the kids and at Big Blue, like I can't imagine my life. Well, I can't imagine being a president of a company because I know I wouldn't have time for this kind of stuff. So God just is so faithful, and he can be so good with just using us in our dreams and what we want for ourselves in our hearts. So he honors that. All right, Eric, let me just ask you a couple bucket lists. What else is on this bucket list of yours?
Well, last year, I didn't do a lot last year. Like, I was supposed to read 3 new books. Didn't do that.
Okay.
This year, I will complete one of last year's. I put everything that was on last year's that I didn't do on this year's. One of them is to finish the entire Bible.
Okay.
I will do that this year. One from last year that I love that I don't, it's going to be on every year's, is increase my friend group.
Ooh, I like that. And it's interesting. Sometimes you increase your friend group, you have to decrease it first.
I actually did. I lost somebody that I put on probably the year before, but this time I increased my friend group again this year. And I host barbecue parties. Last year I wanted to continue that, and I didn't. So this year it's back on the list.
I love that. I've had a dream for a while to do a badminton party. Like, that is my favorite summer thing, is badminton. And so I have this dream to formulate the Intercontinental Backyard Badminton Association.
Nice.
I want like a logo and badge and everything. But anyway, just make it a good old backyard badminton party. That's something I've always wanted to do. I think this is the Shanda episode, but shout out to her once again. We work with her at Big Blue. We volunteer with her. As she likes to say, I'm a sister from another mister. The kids always get us confused. We're the same height, same brown eyes, we're very much alike. But I've had on a goal for a while to go to the Kentucky Derby. It's that thing that you got to do, and she has family out there. And so we are going to make that happen this year. We're going to get the big old hats and go to Kentucky Derby, and I will get back to you on how that goes. But and I have some really big goals too. Like, I want to go back to Japan. I was born there on an army base when my dad was over there, and I've always wanted to go back. My mom talks about hiking Mount Fuji when she was pregnant with me. So I would love to go to Japan and hike Mount Fuji. And then some of the dreams I feel like I've had in my heart, God showed me better dreams, right? Like, when we were younger, we just wanted to be rich. And at least, for me, you want to be rich, you want to be well-traveled, you wanted to be that, that jet setter, right? And every so often when I see people that just get to do a lot more travel than I do, I get that twinge of envy. But I'm like, yeah, but they don't get to see some of the stuff that I get to see. So, God has shown me that where my true desires in my heart really are sometimes. So,
yep. And so the lesson in this is, if you seek God and you give him your desires, he will honor you in that. So I hope everybody has a good day.
Bye. All right, guys, thanks a lot for listening. We are on all the major podcast platforms, so be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, whatever you have to do to get the word out. And we'd love to hear from you, so please leave us a comment in the comment section.